What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxing Ego's Monday Mail Day. Now, I'm sipping on a little Crown and Coke, so this should go smoothly. Let's see how we do this particular week. I put a thumb up next to the questions I will be answering, and let's get into it. First question is from Jack C 3D. Why does the Ego rumor mill always end up being factual information? Now, I've been in the boxing, covering boxing for some time now. So just good sources, good insight, good information. Because some people are like, oh, you just made this up or you just read this somewhere. But again, if it was that easy, everybody would be putting out videos before information comes out. Like I remember Tim Bradley versus Jesse Vargas. I believe I was probably the first one, at least on YouTube, before boxing scene. Nobody else had talked about that particular fight being a done deal, and I gave people the date and the location and all that. So it is what it is. I'm not going to toot my own horn. Just want you guys to stay tuned, and I try to always provide. That's the other thing. I'm a perfectionist, and I care about my brand and the integrity of it. So I always try to provide you guys with realistic information, not just my opinions, but the information that I'm passing on. I try to make sure it's from credible sources, that because people tell me stuff all the time, from fans to people in the boxing industry, but I can't just run with anything I hear because it's boxing. You never really know. Next question is from asterisk unknown asterisk. Do you think that Amir Imam and Saddam Ali can bounce back from their TKO losses? Absolutely. I think they're both young in their career. I mean, Saddam Ali, Amir Imam, they never really had fought big names, to be honest, and they're still young enough where they can bounce back. I think they should just take a little bit of time off, regroup, watch the fight tapes, go back to the drawing board, see what they did wrong, what they could have did different. For Amir Imam, he needs to work on finding a way to do maybe like a Mayweather versus Maidana. And people get mad, oh, why are you using Mayweather? It's just everyone knows Mayweather fights. Most people have seen him. But Maidana is a real rugged, unorthodox power puncher who's bigger than Mayweather. And that's what Amir Imam's going to have to learn to deal with. Some guys are just tough. They're rugged. They're going to keep coming. He knocked Granados down, and Granados wasn't going to just go away like that. And he applied a lot of pressure. So he needs to work on that and not get discouraged when normally you hit somebody and then they fall, and that backs him off. And I think he might have been under that little spell where normally if he hits people, they can't keep coming like Granados was coming, because they'll respect his power too much. But sometimes you get in there with people who are just tough or want it just as bad as you, if not more. Same thing with Saddam Ali. Stepped up in class with Jesse Vargas. Vargas has experience. He's been in there with Tim Bradley. Bradley has a solid-ass resume, and he hurt Bradley in the 12th round. Been in there with Josecito Lopez. Vargas had way better pro-level experience, and maybe he underestimated. Maybe Saddam Ali underestimated him. I'm not sure, but I definitely think they both can bounce back from their TKO losses based on where they're at in their career. It's just how you handle it and process it as a fighter mentally. That's really what it is. I mean, even Pacquiao bounced back nicely. He's never been knocked out since Marquez. You know what I mean? And earlier in his career, he bounced back. Pacquiao got knocked out in the Philippines or whatever, and he bounced back and went on to jump all these weight classes and stuff like that. So it's really just a testament of the fighter's mental strength and the fact that they want to improve and get better, because if they don't, then they can't bounce back. But if they do have the desire to get better and grow as a fighter, it's definitely possible, especially since they're not late in their career. Next question is from Eric Shipman. Yo, Ego, what fight do you want to see made before the end of the year? Off the top of my head, Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. Obviously, if Ward gets past Sullivan Barrera and looks good doing it. Nicholas Walters, Vasyl Lomachenko, Pacquiao Crawford. I would love to see that. Canelo versus Triple G. Obviously, I favor Canelo to beat Khan. I'm going to do a 7 reasons on it. But if he does beat Khan and looks impressive doing it, I mean, he's not going to get that much credit for that. But I still want to see Canelo versus Triple G. If not, Triple G versus just a ranked top guy like a Danny Jacobs or somebody. So those are some fights. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury. Put all those guys and put their names in a hat and pick 2. Any of those guys in any sequence, round robin, I want to see those fights too. So off the top of my head, that's what came to mind. Next question is from Frederick Cotton. When is Canelo going to fight the big threats in 154 instead of avoiding them? Now, that's a question I don't really have the answer because I don't manage Canelo. But this is my personal opinion. I think Oscar De La Hoya, he knows he has a limited stable of stars. Not saying he doesn't have people. He has some up-and-coming people. Shout out to Tino Avila. He has some people, but I'm talking about people with star power. Like, their names are already ringing bells. And Canelo is like the last of the Mohicans, kind of. So he wants to keep his fighter winning. So I don't see the Canelo Triple G fight happening. Not that Canelo absolutely can't win that fight. It's just a very dangerous fight. And if, let's say, Canelo got knocked out, then that really hurts Golden Boy because that's their prized possession. David Lemieux, they put him in there with Triple G, and he was confident and all that until he started tasting that stiff jab and that power. Then he got gun shy and got dominated. Then he's supposed to fight a guy he should easily beat who's coming off of a year-plus layoff where he got stopped by Hugo Centennial Jr., and David Lemieux doesn't even make a catch weight of 163 pounds. He comes in heavy. The fight gets canceled. Mauricio Herrera, he was supposed to fight Lucas Matisse, and Matisse says his eye's still bothering him, so he's not going to be on the Canelo Khan card. I don't think Herrera looked too great in the Hank Lundy fight either. Before he had that eye cut and stuff like that, so he looked real distracted by that eye. So I don't think that was his best performance, like a Danny Garcia when he fought Danny Garcia or somebody. So realistically, Golden Boy, they need a star. They have Luis Ortiz, but I mean, who can he fight? Who wants to fight him? You know what I mean? And I don't know if he has the full-fledged star power. People like his style and stuff. So realistically, I don't know when Canelo's going to fight the big threats. Because to me, the big threats at 154 are Julian J. Rock Williams, guys like Demetrius Andrade, guys like Erislandy Lara rematch. You know what I mean? That was a close fight. So I don't know when he's going to fight those Charlo brothers. I don't know when he's going to fight. I seen a picture of the Charlo brothers next to Canelo, and Canelo looked tiny. The Charlo brothers are pretty damn big. He looked tiny. So realistically, I don't know. I don't know who Canelo's going to fight, to be honest. And I don't know when he's going to fight, especially like a 6 foot tall Demetrius Andrade, who's a southpaw Olympian. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. And I like Canelo. I like Canelo a lot, actually. But I call it like I see. Next question is from Ill Will CO01. What up, Ego? Let me expand this. The Thurmond Porter fight is back on. What's your take on the matchup being thought as a bout that can go either way when we know based on the Broner Porter fight in the 12th round, AB scored a knockdown against Porter? And since AB being the smaller man, not known for having much power above the 135-pound limit, could this be an indicator that Porter may have been bit off more than he could chew, with Thurmond being the bigger puncher of the two, or that may not be a factor because this will be at the full 147 limit and not a catch weight? Love your channel, bro. I've learned a lot tuning into your commentary. Now, thanks for that last sentence. I don't even look at stuff like, I look at patterns. I look at how people are looking in their last fights. But for the most part, Porter dominated Broner. Broner was clinching and he made it a real sloppy fight. And Porter just, he outworked him, even though Broner was intentionally making it like real cagey or scrappy by clinching so much and stuff. So he did get caught in the 12th round. It's so many different factors. One, he was dominating the fight, so you know what I mean. He won. I had him winning pretty much every round. I only watched that fight once. I watched it. I actually covered the same night was Andre Ward fight, so I didn't get to see it live. And then I watched it the next day. I had DVR'd it, and I watched it the next day. Did a post fight on it, and I never watched it again. So I don't know if I don't really remember having Broner win many rounds, if any. But bottom line is Porter was pretty much in control. So things happen. Sometimes you're in control and Broner gave him nothing to really respect or nothing to really fear. So it could have been a situation like that where like, man, I'm beating this guy easy. This is easy work for 11 rounds. And then all of a sudden he produces something and knocks you down. Like, whoa, shit. I didn't see that. Broner does have speed. And Maidana said, I don't know. Maidana said he had good power. So I don't know. His power just doesn't look as flashy as when he was at 130, 135. But realistically, I try not to take little instances like that into too much consideration because there could be so many different variables as to why he got dropped. Maybe it was the 145. Maybe he wasn't at the full, since he wasn't at the 147, because Sean Porter in the amateurs, he was fighting at like 165. So maybe that extra cut reduces punch resistancy. Maybe he just felt he was in so control, he got sloppy and careless. You know what I mean? Could be different things. And if you really want to flip it, you could say both fighters in their last fight got hurt. You know what I mean? Keith Thurmond got hurt by Luis Collazo. Collazo, you know what I mean? Even though he got stopped by Thurmond, he had Thurmond looking like he was on his way out, or at least to getting knocked down. So realistically, you could say the same thing. You could say, how is Keith Thurmond going to deal with Sean Porter's pressure when Luis Collazo had him backing up? You know what I mean? If Porter's in his chest and he's digging to his body, you know what I mean? Most people would probably think that Porter is the stronger than Collazo, or at least about the same as Collazo's power at the bare minimum. You know what I mean? So I try not to look too much into those types of things because they both are coming off of performances where they were hurt in their last fight. So it's a fair fight. It's a good fight. I'm going to do a 7 reasons, and I'm glad it's back on. So there's so many different variables. I don't know what it is. I mean, you could easily say, oh, yeah, Broner dropped him. Thurmond has more power, but boxing's tricky. Boxing doesn't always work like that. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen things like Pacquiao. Pacquiao's a perfect example. I don't even know if many fans, unless you're just a super diehard Pacquiao fan, I don't even know if many people can pronounce the guy that knocked Pacquiao out early in his career. What's his name? I forgot it off the top of my head. But if you know in the comment section without Google, I mean, anybody can Google, but what's his name? You know what I'm saying? So whatever that guy's name is, he has a win over Pacquiao via knockout. Yet guys like Sugar Shane Mosley, Antonio Margarito, Ricky Hatton, you know what I mean? All these guys, David Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya. Is there anyone that's going to say that this guy that knocked out Pacquiao early in his career is better than all these Hall of Famers like De La Hoya and Hatton and Mosley and stuff? You know what I'm saying? So boxing's weird like that. You know what I mean? He got stretched by pretty much a nobody, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean, Pacquiao was beating better competition. So different things happen, different timings, different training camps, different things like that. So I'm not putting too much stake on the fact that Broner knocked down Porter because, like I said, the same can be said with Keith Thurmond. He got hurt and almost knocked down. So, like, Porter actually recovered well. Either that or it was a combination of Broner didn't really go in for the kill. But Thurmond, when he got hurt, even though he didn't get knocked down, he looked like he was more hurt than Porter. Porter might have been buzzed and dazed a little bit, but Keith Thurmond looked like he might even get stopped damn near. So it's a good fight. I like it. Next question, Benjamin Franklin. Hey, Ego, do you think people appreciate Sweet Science Masters enough? Because I see a lot of hate going to Mayweather, Ward, and Rigo, and I can't understand why. Because in my opinion, that's what boxing is about. If you want to watch KOs, watch heavyweight division or MMA. And do you know that if Mayweather was European, he was about to be a national hero in any European country, but in the USA, people hate him. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to sound unpatriotic. I love America. But let's make America great again. No, I'm just playing. Don't, all you Trump fans, don't be leaving no crazy comments in here. But actually, Mayweather is appreciated in Europe. Like, he did that thing. He was touring in Russia, and it set a Guinness World of Record for how many people were in attendance for his boxing seminar or whatever. Ruslan Provodnikov was there, and a ton of people. Guys were like fainting and stuff because they were meeting Mayweather. So it's sad that he's represented our country in the Olympics, and Americans don't even give him the same appreciation. They rather throw stones and hate on him, call him pillow-fisted and bitch and stuff like that. So it is sad, but in general, people in America come from all walks of life, different countries, different places. It's a giant melting pot. So I think that's part of it. As opposed to if you go to Argentina, I'm not saying there's no people that relocated, but I don't think you'll have people from all like from anywhere. You know what I mean? You can go to anywhere, like just in California alone. There's people, white, black, Filipino, Mexican, Puerto Rican. We have a lot of everything. Asian, Chinese. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different places. But you go to Argentina, I don't think you're gonna see a bunch of Puerto Rican and Chinese people and black people and white people. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a melting pot like America. America is known for opportunities, like home of the fruit, like land of the brave and a new hope and stuff like that, the American dream. So a lot of people migrate here. But it is unfortunate. I agree. I don't think a lot of people appreciate the sweet science for whatever reason. And it is what it is. Like, people rather, like, oh, I want to see knockouts and stuff. And there's a lot of people who are doing, like HBO, their whole marketing scheme seems to be built on, if you're not an action star, you're boring. You know what I mean? And that's just stupid, because not every fight is going to be like that. And I think in general, I think the UK fans are probably, and I've lived in the UK. I used to live in England, and I live in America, so I could say this. But I think the UK fans are just overall more loyal to their fighters than Americans. Americans will turn on you so quick. Like Broner, he's winning and dancing. There'll be a ton of people who are on his bandwagon. Then Maidana trashes him, knocks him down. They're making memes about him. So, you know what I mean? In general, I think Americans are less tolerant and more disloyal, like where they'll turn on their fighters. Hatton got knocked out by Pacquiao and Mayweather. You still had diehard Hatton fans probably getting tattoos and chanting and, you know what I mean, rooting for him in the Sinchenko fight, because the UK fans are real loyal. And I just see a different level of respect with the UK fans, and that's just to be 100% real. Like, I remember great fights in America, like Timothy Bradley, Ruslan Provodnikov. Not a boring fight at all. Both guys showed heart. Both guys got hurt. It was what you want from a fight. It was a potential fight of the year. And the action was it was good. It was like the first 2 rounds, Bradley's getting melted and getting concussed, all this stuff. And then I think in the middle rounds, they had a slower round, and people were booing. Like, boo, boo. Like, man, these dudes is like trying to take each other's head off. I don't even know how Timothy Bradley is standing up right now, because he's getting melted by a power puncher from Russia who's just coming at him, coming for his jugular. And people had the nerve to boo. Same thing happened with Keith Thurmond Guerrero, the first ever PBC event, and that was the main event. Keith Thurmond Guerrero. Keith Thurmond knocks down Robert Guerrero. I don't even know, I can't remember off the top of my head if Robert Guerrero's been knocked down before, but we know Guerrero has a chin. Keith Thurmond leveled him. Guerrero comes back the very next round, like I'm not going that easy, and he won the round after being knocked down. It looked like he might get knocked out and not be able to get back up. And then somewhere around there, right after that, people were booing, like, because the action slowed up. Like, boo, and these motherfuckers are tired. Like, what do you expect? You know what I mean? They're not machines. And people had the nerve to boo. Watch the Carl Frampton versus Scott Quigg. The first 4 or 5 rounds were pretty boring, you know what I mean, in terms of when in comparison to like a Keith Thurmond, Ruslan Provodnikov versus Bradley. There was just a super chess match. No one wanted to make a mistake. Quigg got his jaw broken. They were both tentative. So it was a lot slower. You had to let that build. And I didn't hear a single boo from the UK crowd. And it had like, I think they said 60,000 people or something in attendance. I didn't hear one boo. But you have a smaller crowd in the US, like Carson at the Home Depot Center or whatever, for Bradley versus Provodnikov. And people like chanting boo, throwing beers and stuff because it's too slow or there's a dull moment. You know what I mean? So yeah, Mayweather, Sweet Science, Rigo, Ward, all these people don't get the proper respect. It is what it is. We know this. Next question from Superman Hopkins. Ego, do you think Wilder is in a no-win situation fighting in Russia? Nah, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say he's in a no-win situation, because I think he can win. I think he will win. I think he'll beat Povetkin. I don't think this fight, whoever wins, I don't think is going the distance. That's just my opinion based on their styles. But I don't think it's a no-win situation, because if he goes over to Russia, Rocky IV style, and levels Povetkin, knocks him out, something that Vladimir Klitschko didn't do. Klitschko knocked him down, I think, twice or so, but he didn't knock him out. So if Wilder did that, he's the man. You know what I mean? There's nothing anyone can do to contest his legitimacy as a champion. If he goes over there, Povetkin has 1 loss. He's been in there with names like Hassan Rahman. He leveled Mike Perez. He beat Mauricio Watch. He's been in there with Klitschko. You know what I mean? This is a guy, and he's a mandatory. So I don't think it's a no-win situation, because if he does win, and he does win by knockout, like he's been knocking out other people, everyone but Bermane Stiverne, the only person that survived and didn't get knocked out, then he comes back to America, the man, the American champ. So I don't think it's a no-win situation. Maybe if it goes to the scorecards and they get some janky judges or something, that could be a no-win situation. But the whole overall him fighting in Russia is not a no-win situation, because I think he has a strong chance to win. He has if he fights smart, he has to fight smart, use his height, use his jab, which he can do. He actually has a pretty good jab. He's athletic. He just has to do that. Sometimes he abandons it. Like his jab, he wasn't using it consistently enough for my liking against the shorter Artur Szpilka. That's why Szpilka was having some success. But it might be a little bit different, because Szpilka lost all that weight and he was real squirrely, real fidgety, and he's a southpaw. So just different fights. But I don't think that him fighting in Russia is a no-win situation. It's a dangerous fight to take, because he has a hometown advantage. He's a power puncher. He's your mandatory. You know what I mean? That might give him the confidence. And if it does go to the scorecards, who knows what will happen. But I don't think the whole situation is a no-win situation, because if he does, in fact, win, then that's a hell of a win for him. And he comes back as the man, to me. Next question comes from the main man. Why does HBO's boxing atmosphere seem so tamed versus Showtime? I like both, but HBO at times feels like they're all business, whereas Showtime feels like everyone is having a good time. Even the commentary is more lively. I never really thought about that. I would honestly say it's just the cast. They might gel different. Like from what I've seen on Showtime, a lot of times they're not yes men, but they're all usually somewhere within the same page. Like Al Bernstein, Jim Gray, I forgot the other guy's name off the top of my head, Paulie Malignaggi. They're not too far off. Steve Farhood, like at least even their scorecards and stuff like that aren't too far off. But from what I've seen with HBO, sometimes it's all over the place. Like Jim Lampley will say something crazy like, Pacquiao hit him with a vicious uppercut, bang! And then Roy Jones will correct him like, he actually missed. He didn't hit him with an uppercut. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just how the chemistry of the cast. Max Kellerman will sometimes say stuff, and then I hear Roy Jones disagree, or Bernard Hopkins, or if they have Andre Ward. It's just a little bit more all over the place. Or like, I seen Harold Letterman, okay, Jim, like, and his scorecard is way off from what other people have. So I think it's just the chemistry of each crew. I think the Showtime, I think that's their personalities, like Bernstein and Paulie Malignaggi. I've seen them in interviews. They're all good interviews, and they're just real down to earth and real chill boxing fans. So I think that's the only thing I can come up with, is that they maybe are more in unison with their thoughts. Like when Paulie Malignaggi, they're respectable and respectful. Paulie Malignaggi will say something, they respect him. They know he's the fighter of the two. You know what I mean? Sometimes Jim Lampley, or when they had Larry Merchant, will say some stuff, and George Foreman or Lennox Lewis or Roy Jones or whoever is the fighter, he was like, no, that's not it. That's not what it is. You know what I mean? Like, here's another example. I was watching a recent telecast, and they're arguing on if Felix Verdejo can sell, and is he a power puncher? Does he have much power? Stuff like that. And Roy Jones he's giving it to his real. He's like, it's not that he's not a power puncher. He's taking his time because he's in there with the crafty guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's saying those types of things, which is true. You're not going to just go in and bomb everybody out. But Jim Lampley, or maybe even Kellerman, sometimes they're a bit more impatient. Harold Letterman, he even said it on a recent telecast. I like knockouts. I like action. He's winning, but Rigondeaux's boring. You know what I'm saying? They're going to say those types of things like that. And I think Roy Jones, just because he was a phenomenal fighter, he understands the sport and he breaks it down better because he has that firsthand experience, and his thought processes I agree with. They were talking about if Terrence Crawford is a puncher, if he has punching power, more punching power than a Golovkin or equivalent. And Jim Lampley's like, no, he doesn't have equivalent power per his division. And then Roy Jones was like, I disagree with that. I think he does. I think he's a hard puncher. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just how the cast gels. That's the best way I could put it. Next question is from Ali Dago 619. Do you think Wilder, Ortiz, or Fury could have hung in there with the top heavyweights from the 60s and 70s? I do, and that might be shocking to some. I do think they could hang in. Not necessarily off they're the most technical or most skillful guys, but they are big. Guys in the 60s and 70s in general, like the heavyweight division back in the day, the further you go back, a lot of those guys were like small compared to the what you would call now to be like a super heavyweight. So I think they could have. I mean, Wilder's 6'7", Tyson Fury's like 6'9" or something crazy. So these guys are like super heavyweights. Ortiz, he's 6'4", but he's not hitting like he's hitting like a mule. So I think they could have done well just based on being athletic like Wilder, being big like Fury and Wilder, and power like Ortiz and stuff like that. So I think they could have fared. Now, because some of those guys, I'm telling you, go do your history. If you do your history, some of them heavyweights weren't. Rocky Marciano, he wasn't that big. You know, I think I'm bigger than Rocky Marciano, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Or close to it. So a lot of these guys weren't that big. Some of them guys were like 6 feet heavyweights, 6 foot tall heavyweights that barely went over 210 pounds or something. So, yeah, it's different times, different eras. So I think they could have hung in there. Not necessarily because it was... They're, like I said, they're the most technical guys, or you know what I mean, they have the skills to be in any generation, but it's just based on their size, you know what I mean, and 2 of the 3 have crazy power, Wilder and Fury. So at the heavyweight division, you always have a shot there. Next question is from Rob Lee 73. Ego. Let me expand this. Tim Bradley in training looks huge. Weeks away from Pac versus Bradley part 3. He looks like a natural middleweight. Having to shred so much for welterweight limit, does that weight drain disadvantage Tim Bradley, or does Bradley rehydrate much heavier back to the middleweight on fight night, having that extra weight advantage over Manny Pacquiao? What are your thoughts? Now, I don't know if you're referring because you used the whole natural middleweight. I just talked about that in the video, a Pacquiao looking shredded video. So I don't know if you've seen my video, but that was from a month ago. It was from the beginning of March where Bradley was with the picture I showed in that video. So I'm sure he's already cut some more weight off since then. But I don't think it'll affect Bradley. Here's why. This is what Bradley does. He always, you know what I mean, in his offseason, he's always big. Because I've seen him and I was like, holy shit, Bradley looks big. And he always comes ripped on fight night or on the weigh-in. He always looks shredded and ripped. Difference being, you have different types of people. Like even when Bradley bulks up, he still has a six-pack. You know what I mean? He just looks bigger. He just looks huge. Like in the middleweight thing that I did in the video, he still had a six-pack. Versus when Ricky Hatton ballooned up, Chavez Jr., when he balloons up, he don't have no six-pack. He just looks sloppy. He looks like soft in the midsection. So I think it's different. I think Bradley's used to it. I think this is how he's always been. But the difference being Bradley's a smaller guy, and the other thing is, I think he's a gym rat. He's naturally a gym rat. So he knows what he has to do. His dad was hard on him when he was growing up in terms of like making him train and stuff like that. So I think his reason for giving himself a little bit of break is because he's always trained like a, you know what I mean, like a gym rat. So in his off season, he just wants to relax a little bit more and not train as intense. But other guys, I think like Chavez Jr., I think it's more not, I don't think it's because of that. I think it's because you just get lazy out of shape and probably have poor eating, not eating clean and stuff like that. So I think the difference being is like guys like Bradley, he's a gym rat. So just like Andre Ward, he's a gym rat. Even if they come a little bit bigger or have to shred a little bit more, they're going to do it because they're gym rats. But guys like Chavez Jr., if it's a month and a half before a fight and he's 30 pounds over, it's going to be harder because he's not a gym rat like that. And he's not necessarily going to run 9 miles like Bradley might do, possibly. You know what I'm saying? I don't know his whole routine. That's why I said possibly. So I think it's a little bit different. I think Bradley's cool because he always does that. It's nothing new. I've seen like plenty of pictures of him and he looked big. I don't think he rehydrates to super middleweight either. That was the other part of your question. I don't think he does that on fight night. I think he just, his off season, just chills with his family, trains less, things like that. So I don't think he's going to have a crazy weight advantage over Pacquiao. I don't think either of them had a crazy weight advantage over each other in their previous 2 fights. Next question, Brooklyn, 560. What do you think about Frampton ducking his mandatory versus Rigo and going for Cruz? Frampton Cruz is a good featherweight fight, but both guys ducked Rigondeaux. And that's just as simple as I could put it. So it's a shame on them for both ducking when they had opportunities. For Frampton, the Quigg win was cool, even though he was kind of getting hurt in the late rounds. Beating Rigondeaux would make if he were able to beat Rigondeaux and then fight Leo Santa Cruz, that's a good money fight. Santa Cruz is a good money fight. So it would mean more if he fought, but it just makes it look like he's ducking. So, I mean, I've already said my thoughts plenty of times on this. They both ducked him. They don't want no problems with Rigondeaux. You can call him boring or no one wants to watch him. He can't sell out his bathroom and all those dumb comments and stuff that I read, but you don't want to fight him. You know what he possesses. You know he has a tricky style. He's a southpaw. He has power. He has speed, and you don't want to deal with it. So it's a bad look for Frampton, but fortunate for him, he has a fan base that will probably overlook it and sweep it on the rug because he's going into another good fight. I'm not going to see, and this is the thing, I'm realistic. Even though I know for a fact both guys ducked Rigondeaux, I'm not going to make it sound like Frampton versus Cruz is a terrible fight. It's still a good fight, but it's still a good fight with the asterisks because you guys both ducked Rigondeaux, and that's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to say, oh, Frampton versus Cruz is a terrible fight for Frampton's first fight at featherweight because I don't believe that. But I do believe they both ducked Rigondeaux, and it's a shame that he didn't fight his mandatory. And now he's just allegedly too big to make the weight and has to move up to fight Cruz. But he's going where the money's at and where the fight's probably more winnable. Because how Frampton looked versus Quigg, if it was Jackal versus Jackal, I'm picking Rigondeaux. I don't see how he could beat him looking like he did versus Quigg. That's just my opinion. Next question. From Naima Itzham. Hey, Ego, if Khan beats Canelo convincingly and takes Canelo's power, will all this no-chin bullshit go away, or will it stick with Khan? I mean, yeah, it will go away if that's what happens. If he takes Canelo's power, then what could people say? Like, maybe he was having weight trouble, cutting weight, cutting too much weight. But I personally don't have Khan winning. But let's see. We'll see if he proves me wrong. But if he takes Canelo's power shots or gets hurt and then finishes the fight, then I don't expect to see as many glass chin comments and all that stuff that people leave in the comments section. But we'll have to wait and see. See if he is durable enough to last 12 rounds with Canelo. Next question is from Brian Olia. Yo, Ego, I asked this last week before fight was official. What do you think will happen to Victor Ortiz if he comes out the winner of his bout against Andre Berto? Will he be back on the map of the welterweights, or is he still climbing the ladder to the top welterweights? That's a step in the right direction, but I don't think by any means he'll be back. You still got Keith Thurmond Porter winner. Can he beat that person? You have Earl Spence Jr. You have Danny Garcia. There's still a lot of competition. Amir Khan, he's fighting Canelo, so depending on the outcome of that, he might move back down to 147. Pacquiao. It's just, there's so much competition. It's a stacked division. So, again, it's a step in the right direction if Victor Ortiz beats and proves it wasn't a fluke and beats Andre Berto a second time. But that doesn't, Berto is coming off of a loss. Berto's not necessarily a top of the division either. So, it'll be a step in the right direction, but it doesn't mean he's the best in the division. He still has some climbing to do. Especially, I say this for Victor Ortiz more than Andre Berto, because Berto's Berto. Like, he showed heart even in the Robert Guerrero fight. He showed heart when he had one arm and got stopped by Jesus Soto Caras. He got stopped because he had one arm. Let's be real. He got stopped because it didn't even happen until the 12th round. You know what I'm saying? So even if he were to lose the fight, most likely he wouldn't have got stopped when he had two hands. You know what I mean? Because he was doing all right with one arm. You know what I mean? But whatever, he got stopped in the 12th round. Victor Ortiz has more of an uphill battle because his mentality has been questioned. His mind state has been questioned time and time and time again. Quitter, looking for way out of fights and stuff. He got frustrated versus Josecito, started rabbit punching. He got frustrated versus Mayweather, leaped off his feet and headbutted him. Then got two-piece and didn't get up because he was too hurt or whatever. Maidana, I don't deserve to get beat up like this. Josecito broke his jaw, and then he's like, nah, I'm not going to continue, even though Scott Quigg just fought with a broken jaw. Now, I'm a realist, so different people, you know what I mean? Victor Ortiz's broken jaw might have been worse than Scott Quigg's. I don't know. But all I'm saying is it's not a good look because he has so many different patterns surrounding this quitter-like mindset and behavior. So even if Victor Ortiz does beat Berto, depending on how he beats him and how he looks in the fight, it'll be good for his career. But by no means does it mean he's back because he has a lot. It's like someone told me, it was an old store manager when I was working at Lowe's. He was saying like he was basically saying the importance of customer service, good customer service. He says if you go to a store and have one good experience, that's good. You might tell a couple of people. But if you go to that same store and have a terrible experience, even if you had 2 or 3 decent to good experiences, that one bad experience where it's just terrible is going to overshadow 2 or 3 decent good experiences, right? So he was basically saying to repair that one bad experience, it's going to take time. It's going to take multiple travels and trips to that store where you're getting good customer service to help erase the memories of that terrible experience. Just think about it like a fast food place. If you went to a fast food place and you ate it and it was cool, and then you ate it a second time and you got food poisoning and you were on the toilet and throwing up viciously, then you probably don't want to fuck with that food place again. You're like, oh my gosh, they tore me up. You know what I mean? And even if you did start going back to that food place, you have to go there a couple times to make sure like this doesn't happen again. So the reason I'm using that analogy is that's where Victor Ortiz is. He's in a delicate position where even if he has a strong performance, he's had so many quitter-like performances or things where his mindset was challenged, like crazy interviews or quitting in fights, looking for way out of fights and stuff like that. It's going to take the repeat behavior of good behavior for people to finally eventually start giving them some slack and forgetting about those things. So we'll see. Victor Ortiz, Berto, I'm looking forward to that fight. Next question is from Danny D. Do you think Little G will forever hide at 160 and be too scared to move up to 168? I don't know, man. I'm so sick of even talking about this. Bottom line, Triple G is a very good fighter. He still has a lot to prove at age 33, 34, whatever age he is. And he has to determine what he wants to do for his legacy. The bigger challenges clearly are at 168. Ward was there, then you took too long, and he called you Little G and peaced out. Now he's fighting Sullivan Barrera this month, possibly fighting Sergey Kovalev this year. So Triple G has to decide what he wants for his career. I don't know if he says he wants to stay and unify, and we don't even know if that's possible because sometimes in boxing things are fucked up and people are across the street and on the pond. And like, can you ever fight Danny Jacobs? He has a belt. Can you ever fight him because he's a Heyman fighter and you're on HBO? You know what I mean? Little stuff like that. Yeah, Dominique Way's a Heyman fighter too, but he's a less known Heyman fighter. Will Heyman do business for one of his bigger stars with the opposite side, or would he look to make a Danny Jacobs versus Peter Quillen rematch or whoever? You know what I mean? So you never know. Billy Joe Saunders and Danny Jacobs, you never know. So my advice for him is just fight the right competition, whether it's at 160 or 168. If you can't get Canelo or Billy Joe Saunders after Dominic Wade, if you get past him, and you can't get Danny Jacobs, then maybe start looking at 68. You don't want to fight Lara, maybe look at 68 and fight somebody real like James DeGale or somebody at 68. So I don't know what he'll do. That's just my advice on what he should do. Next question is from Q Boxeo. What do you think about the Salido versus Vargas fight at the StubHub Center? Awesome location, Southern California. Shout out to my state of California. StubHub is the perfect location for that fight. Drink a beer, get some nachos, bring some women, and just kick back. And these motherfuckers they're going to scrap. I just think it's going to be that type of fight. Hopefully Vargas's eye is 100%, like, because his eye looked pretty bad. versus Mura on the Cotto Canelo undercard. His eye got tore up. So hopefully that's good. Salido, I mean, Salido's been in there with everyone. Lomachenko, he's the only guy that beat Lomachenko. Been in there with Robert Guerrero, Gamboa. He fought all these people, tons of people. So Siri versus El Bandito, I'm looking forward to that. That's a real sleeper scrap. People need to set their DVRs, or if you're in SoCal near the StubHub Center, you would probably try to get to that because I think that'll be a sleeper hit. I think that'll be a good one. Next question is from MJ Skills. Will you make a video explaining what does a boxer UFC fighter go through when he or she goes up in a new weight division? Yeah, I'll try to do something like that. I'm trying to do all kinds of different stuff. It's hard because I have certain videos in the queue that I want to make, and then some boxing news will come up, and then I have to make a video on that. So I'm trying to get it under control. But yeah, I definitely, if you guys want to hear stuff like that, I'm always up for suggestions on what to do. But like Floyd Mayweather said, it's a process. Moving up a new weight division is a process. You want to make sure you're acclimated. And I advise everybody to, people, it's funny, people condemn Al Heyman. Oh, he's cherry picking Danny Garcia versus Paulie Malignaggi. That's ridiculous. But look at him. He looked much better when he fought Robert Guerrero than when he fought Paulie Malignaggi, to me. So his first fight, he was getting acclimated to the full 147 division against Paulie Malignaggi, a veteran, guy with a name. He won by stoppage. And then I thought he looked a lot better in his second fight because it's a process and you have to acclimate to a new division. You could try to be too tough for your own good. Like Brandon Rios, a perfect example. He was coming off of a loss. He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to scrap. He says getting punched is an orgasm. So he said, fuck it. Good payday. I'll fight Pacquiao. First fight at welterweight, you were fighting one of the top two welterweights at the time. It was Floyd and Pacquiao were the top two welterweights. You move up a new division, even though he's coming off a knockout, that's the person you choose. You know what I'm saying? And then we seen how that was an uncompetitive, lopsided fight. So moving up in weight is no joke. You want to do it the right way. I mean, even Andre Ward, he's taking on a tall order, taking on Sullivan Barrera, undefeated Cuban puncher. But little bit different just because Ward at least had experience at that weight in the amateurs and won a gold medal at that weight versus Brandon Rios just moved up to 47 and fought Pacquiao. So, you know, I mean, you can do it how you want to do it, but it's a crucial process because you want to make sure you're going up in the right way. You know what I mean? If you already killed you know what I mean? Even Andre Ward, most people thought he already handled. So it makes sense to take on stiffer competition because people thought that Ward had already dominated 168, so it makes a little bit more sense. But Brandon Rios was coming off of a loss. He definitely hadn't even dominated 140. You know what I mean? He beat Alvarado, which was a good win, but he didn't dominate 140. And then he moved up that quick. So I'll try to make a more detailed video about that. Next question, Danny D. Do you think Khan has mental problems? Should he see a doctor? I don't think he has mental problems. I think he's very confident in his self and his ability. Whether I agree with some of the stuff and statements he says, it is what it is. But I think he's just real confident and, you know what I mean, convinces himself of little things. Like, oh, I'm bigger than Canelo and stuff like that. But whatever. Everyone has an opinion, to each his own. Next question is from Felipe Reyes. Hey, Ego, do you think Khan's hand speed beats Canelo's reflex speed? No. I'm keep telling people, I think Canelo's going to win the fight. I'll do the 7 reasons video. I'm trying to get caught up with everything. I think Khan's hand speed can beat Canelo's reflex speed for rounds. That's possible. Like, let's say rounds 1 and 2 or 1, 2, and 5 or whatever. I think he can, in spots, beat him. But I think eventually he'll probably, most likely, end up getting caught. And Canelo's reflex will start kicking on. Canelo has dog in him, and that's another thing. A lot of people don't they don't understand this dog when I'm telling you. It's not something I can put my finger on. But I see when fighters have dog in them. Floyd Mayweather has dog in him. What I mean by dog is when Maidana was making it real scrappy and tough and his eyes was bleeding and he had a cut over his eye, he stepped it up to another level. when Floyd was fighting Mosley and he got rocked and realized he was in a real fight. Mosley had the momentum from stopping Margarito just the fight before it. Mayweather showed the dog. He arguably, had he not got rocked visibly twice in round 2, he actually won the end of the round. You know what I'm saying? But obviously that round 2 was a Shane Mosley round because he had him that badly hurt. But I'm just saying, he was fighting back. Andre Durrell versus James DeGale showed dog. He got dropped hard twice early, first 2 rounds or whatever, and came back and he started winning versus James DeGale. Canelo's the same way. I think Canelo, he's a real life competitor. I don't think he likes to lose. Like when he lost to Mayweather, it looked like it crushed him. When he was losing, he was easily losing to Lara, in my opinion, the first rounds. Then that dog came out, and he was like, "Fuck this," and he started ripping Lara's body in half with vicious, sick combinations and trying to hunt him down. He still needs to work on cutting off the ring, but I see that dog, that competitive edge. So, yeah, I think Canelo's reflex, even if he's getting pieced up by Amir Khan's hand speed, I think that's gonna bring the dog out of Canelo. I don't think he likes to lose. That's just my opinion. Oh, I meant to thumb up this question. The amazing Mother Porker. Yo, Ego, I was born ready. Love your channel. Been listening to it for a year now. What's your thoughts on Guillermo Rigondeaux and his future? I read his bout in England was canceled due to visa issues. It's like the guy can't catch a break. Being 35 isn't helping him either. P.S. Going to the war versus Barrera. Bout, hope to see Ego Veli there. You will definitely see me there. Shout out to everybody who comes out. I'll definitely be there in full effect. Rigondeaux, I agree with you. I mean, he can't catch a break. He's either being avoided, having little run-ins like this, and being 35 doesn't help. But I said this and I said this again. The good thing about Rigondeaux is he's in the echelon of a Mayweather, Bernard Hopkins. What I mean by that, he's in the echelon of their fighting styles that has the fountain of youth. He could be 35 and not fight like he's 35. He's been knocked down and stuff like that, but he's not taking James Kirkland caliber ass whoopings. You know what I'm saying? He's getting back on his P's and Q's once he gets knocked down and stuff like that. He's a skillful fighter, a technician in there. So even though he's 35, he still has longevity in the sport because of his style. He's a counter puncher, he's slick. He can not get hit. So that's my opinion. I just want to see him in the good fights and get good fights. I like the Rock Nation deal, and I think they'll try to put something together. It's just unfortunate. It's weird that it seemed like they would have already looked into the visa. Like, I don't know what issues he had, but I don't know why it arose last minute. You know what I mean? It seems like something that would have already been like figured out. I don't know, but I think Rigondeaux would be all right because people know what it is. People know he's a beast and a problem. And then the last question, Don Flamenco. What do you feel about the Lemieux fight being canceled because he weighed in at 166? What kind of repercussions are there? It's unprofessional, bottom line. Unprofessional. I don't like to see it. The fight was at a catchweight of 163, and you can't even make that, and you're a 160-pound fighter. You made 160 for Triple G, but you can't make 163, which is a 3-pound cushion. Jose Benavidez did that. He's a 140-pound fighter. Last year, he had a fight that was scheduled at 147, and he came in overweight. So you just got to take care of yourself. You have to eat right. You have to take this serious. You're letting not only your team down, you're letting the fans down. And I know people in Canada, actually. I know fighters in Canada, and I know fans in Canada. And they told me that the fans were pissed and like bad-mouthing David Lemieux, things like that. And there's other people on the card. And luckily, I know some people that on the card, their bouts didn't get canceled. But sometimes when one fighter, like Keith Thurmond, he got in a car accident, and that's different than missing weight. But what I'm saying is it compromised the whole card. The whole card got scrapped. So other fighters didn't get paid. They didn't get to showcase their talent. Same thing with David Lemieux. You're the headliner. You know what I mean? You're in Canada. And you have all these Canadians coming out to see you and support you. You're the main event. You can't even make weight. It's just not a good look. Especially when you made all that money fighting Triple G. I know you had to get something good. I don't think Golden Boy would have just had him out there like that. So get a nutritionist. Run that extra mile. It's just not a good look. So the repercussions are more so from the fan. I don't know what happens financially with the promoter who eats it. But I mean, it's just I'm sure that's not a good thing. You might even owe your promoter or something. I don't know. I don't know how that part works, because they made flyers and bought TV time and advertisements and stuff, and then you don't make weight. So I'm sure there probably are some more repercussions. But the repercussions the fighter should be worried about are the repercussions to their legitimacy and their resume, to their reputation, especially amongst the fans. Fans, without the fans, you're nothing. If I had no subscribers, then I would just be talking into a mic, period, and there wouldn't be nothing else. I just, oh, I got one view. Oh, that's from me. You know what I'm saying? So the fans are everything. So you don't want to disappoint them. They're the ones paying their hard-earned money to see you. That's the quickest way to get them to turn when you're unprofessional. So, I mean, things happen. He's not the first person in the sport to have missed weight, but it's just shocking how much he missed weight by, especially since it was at a catch weight, and he just fought in October. Maybe you should move up if you're having that much trouble making weight. You got power, so your power would probably transition. I mean, I don't know how you would do it at 168. That's 8 pounds. But, I mean, if you don't want to put the extra time in and miles in, you have to do something, or just fight every fight at a catch weight of 166. I don't know. But it is what it is. We'll see. And the other thing is, the person you were fighting, nobody even wanted to see that fight. So that was probably an easy victory for you. All you had to do is make weight. You know what I mean? You were clearly the more powerful guy in there, and that would have got your confidence back. So, I mean, you did it. You set yourself back. Now we don't know when your next fight is. And he said he wanted a Triple G resume. That is not the way to go about it. Good luck getting a Triple G resume. You're not even making weight, and you're not even, you know what I mean, getting the wins in the win column from guys that you would probably beat because you can't make weight. Let me know how you guys think I did this week. I tried to get to a lot of questions. I will be back next week, Monday Mail Day. It is. Hit the share button, the like button, the subscribe button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off.